So let's just say you're standing in front of a group of coworkers and you're about to give a presentation. You're super prepared, you've thought about your content, and then the worst happens. Your mind goes blank. You're shaking, you can't think. If you're like 75% of the people in the world, you might be suffering from glossophobia, aka fear of public speaking. So here are my 5 top tips to become a more confident public speaker. Hello, friend. I'm AshleyStahl, career expert, host of the U-Turn podcast, and author of the book also named U-Turn. And my purpose in the world is to help you create a career that completely lights you up. And one of the biggest blocks that can keep you from really stepping into your purpose or loving your work is not knowing how to communicate effectively. As I often say in my book, U-Turn, the best opportunities tend not to go to the most qualified candidates, they go to the best communicators. That's what I want to show you in this video. Being a great speaker isn't just about what you say, it's about learning the art of managing your nervous system. This means knowing how to get control over your body when it's going into panic mode or fight or flight. There's not a practice round that will save you if you don't know how to manage your own nerves. This is also what I want to cover with you today. In fact, you might be surprised to learn that despite my 2 TEDx talks and the 100+ stages I've spoken on, I still get scared before I go on stage every single time. Now, look, there is a difference between fear and courage. Fear can take over your state of mind, but courage is the choice to take action anyway. I choose courage every single time. In fact, my motto when I worked in national security for the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. early on in my career was throw up and show up. That's what I felt like I had to do every day, and I chose the discomfort because the only thing worse than the discomfort was staying stuck and not growing. So while it may be disappointing to hear that these nerves never end, the truth of the matter is what you can simply learn is courage, is managing your nervous system. And of course, some strategies to deliver quality words. Number 1, know your time constraints. When someone has a fear of public speaking, it's very common to speak either too fast because you want it to end or too slow because you're scared. If you're speaking too fast, it's usually because your nerves are high, and like I said, subconsciously you just want the speech or presentation to be over. After all, the faster you word vomit, the sooner you can step down and breathe, am I right? And if you talk too slow, it's usually because you didn't prepare enough and you're searching in your mind in a brain soup for the right words or thoughts to share. This is a tough place to be in because usually if you're not prepared, your nervous system is taking over and making it even harder to cut through the anxiety and find the right words. So one way I've navigated this is through writing my talks out and practicing them quite a bit. If your presentation feels very high stakes, it's up to you how you decide to practice and how much you want to put into it. But what I love about practice is that it breeds confidence. And when your nerves take over, if you've practiced enough, chances are the words will somehow magically keep flowing nicely out of your mouth, even if it feels like a miracle. And all of this said, some professional speakers write their talks out word for word in advance. Others will just wing it with some bullet points. This depends on you and your style and how much structure is truly supportive to you. If there is anything I've learned from watching the excellence that happens during a Broadway show in New York City, it's that memorizing word for word allows you to be exact and consistent in your performance. That's why people pay top dollar on Broadway for shows like Hamilton, because they know that whatever magic happens on Thursday will be consistent and equally great on Friday. This is the magic that comes with precision, memorization, and more. If you're a speaker with a talk that you're going to keep on using, I recommend this sort of excellence and precision for you. And maybe you're wondering, can this sort of excellence come from winging it? I've coached tons of speakers around the world, and yes, I can say for some people this is the case, but not for most. Nonetheless, it's a personal choice depending on the situation and what it calls for. As a professional speaker, I like writing my talks out word for word, even if I don't plan on going by the book, because it helps me structure my timing and gives me a sense of flow. For example, my first TEDx talk in 2014 was 9 minutes and 30 seconds. After a ton of practice to pace myself right, I now know that 3 pages typed in Times New Roman font, size 12, represents 9 minutes and 30 seconds of me speaking at a healthy pace. Also, don't forget the power of the pause. People are processing and thinking about what you're sharing. See what I did there? Giving them a pause when it's right can seriously strengthen your message. I always spend time going through my written talks and leaving highlighter marks where I think I make a big point that deserves a little pause. This takes a lot of practice. Otherwise, a general rule of thumb I operate with is that you should not cover more than 3 points if you have only 10-ish to 15 minutes, and you probably shouldn't cover more than 5 to 6 points if you have 45 minutes to an hour. While there's definitely some master public speakers out there who can pull off more or less points, these frameworks have been helpful for me and have come with a lot of learning. Number 2, simplify your message. In today's world, it's so easy to be complicated. That's why if you want to be interesting and more memorable, my vote is for you to become more simple with your message. No matter what your presentation is about or who your audience is, you want to meet them where they're at. So before you start preparing your presentation, get crystal clear on who you're talking to, what your intention is. A simple, clear, meaningful goal or intention that lives beneath your words is powerful. If they're listening to you giving a presentation, it's likely that they haven't studied whatever topic it is as extensively as you have. So take another look at your presentation and see if there's any unnecessary sentences or PowerPoint slides that just won't make sense to your audience or distract them from the main point. Whenever I make slides for presentations, I'm always looking for each slide to have as little words as possible. After all, do you want them listening to you or squinting, reading a novel on each PowerPoint slide? And number 3, learn how to tell a story. As Martin Scorsese says, what is the most personal is the most creative. And yet many people find it so difficult to tell a personal, vulnerable story. But it's this sort of raw storytelling that has served as the backbone for communal learning throughout centuries. In fact, a groundbreaking study found that sharing personal and emotional experiences with a stranger for only 45 minutes makes you 30% more connected to that person than someone you have known for years. Truly, it is impossible to deny the power of storytelling. It's both a science and an art. No one is inspired by being perfect because deep down, we all know perfect isn't real, even if it feels like it could be. To be relatable is to be real, and people want to learn from real, relatable leaders who can inspire them to keep growing. Also, do consider that adding data to your story increases your audience retention by 20%. See what I did there? Number 4, practice on video. 65% of people are visual learners, which is why I always suggest practicing your presentation on video. By watching the video afterwards, you'll learn a lot about yourself and what your nervous tics and movements are. We all have them, but don't always notice until we see them or it's pointed out to us. I know it may feel a little cringe, but do record yourself doing a practice run of your presentation and pay close attention to your body language, your movement, specifically how you use your hands and whether you're pacing, the tone of voice, and the speed at which you're talking. A good rule is to never move on a stage without a purpose. I move when I'm changing points or I'm showing contrast. Pacing will look like a nervous habit whether it is or it's not. You want to also make sure you don't lean on one leg as if you're waiting in line at the coffee shop, looking tired or disinterested. I've done that and it is not the mood that you want to go for. Standing tall and strong and calmly takes so much skill and so much commitment. Practice it by knowing what's keeping you from that. Number 5, reframe your nerves into excitement. I know what it's like to be completely consumed by your own nerves. When I was standing backstage before giving my first ever TED Talk, I was surrounded by professional speakers, and to my shock, I noticed that most of them also appeared to be coming completely undone with some serious anxiety before stepping on stage. No matter how good you get at public speaking, no matter how successful you are, that fear never goes away. So what you want to do is learn how to use the crazy energy pumping through you to your advantage. Part of this is just mindset, realizing what it is that truly is happening when you feel nervous is that a lot of energy is simply moving through you. It's up to you what you want to call that energy. You could call it nerves, you could call it excitement. Now I find myself saying out loud, wow, I'm feeling a lot of energy for today's speech. And by not calling it anxiety or nerves, or even when someone asks if I'm feeling nervous by not giving in, I'm telling myself a better story. So every time I've ever been too anxious, it's because I'm too busy focusing really too much on myself and how I look versus serving the audience and how they feel. For that reason, whenever I get nervous, I take it as an inner alarm system going off telling me that I'm too absorbed in myself and that I need to get back into focusing less on me and more on the audience. Try thinking of one person and how you want your message to help or teach them. When you focus on the purpose of the presentation and the energy of the room, you can truly connect and serve. And remember, more often than not, the audience is rooting for you and not judging you. They want to see you succeed just as much as you do, just as much as I do. So take this opportunity to learn how to better yourself as a public speaker, have fun, and be proud of yourself for stepping up onto the platform. And in the meantime, I would love to hear some of your greatest public speaking tips or experiences. Post them below, comment, I would love to engage with you. Subscribe to this channel, send this video to a friend in need, and I can't wait to see you next time.